The Realty Debate with Manisha Natarajan, powered by Reliance Home Finance.
Welcome everyone to the Realty Debate on NDTV Prime, which will focus on two key issues today. First, the urban mess of India and the challenges India's cities face. A topic begging our attention after an Indian Institute of Science report declared that India's favourite city and IT capital, Bengaluru, has a bleak future. It did not rank Mumbai highly either. So while you're coughing up a large chunk of your life savings to buy an apartment in any of the metros of the country, are they really heading towards a nightmarish living experience? Our second discussion follows the buyer's rage this summer against developers on delayed projects. The dams of despair have burst open and buyers are no longer willing to wait 2 years or more for a regulator to bring them respite. Consumer forums at district, state and national level have come as a ray of hope for them, and we will tell you how can buyers get justice through these consumer courts. But first, the business of making India's cities livable and sustainable. Joining me today are Irfan Razak, CMD Prestige Group and Chairman CREDAI, Rajiv Talwar, CEO DLF and Chairman Narrateco, Anumita Roy Chaudhary, Executive Director, Research and Advocacy, CSC, TV Ramachandra, Professor, IISc, and Sudhir Krishna, former Secretary, Urban Development Ministry. We couldn't have asked actually for a better panel. Let me just start with the analysis by IISc Bengaluru, which shows that in the Urban Sustainability Index, where 5 cities were compared, Bengaluru and Mumbai turned out to have the least sustainable urban systems, while Singapore emerged as the most sustainable, followed by London and Shanghai. Well, is anybody surprised? Of course not. But what the report further said was disturbing. It said that rampant urbanization and invasive real estate growth have become the biggest ever threat to Bangalore's ecosystem. According to the study, there's been a 525% growth in built-up area of Bengaluru in the last 40 years, corresponding to a 78% decline in vegetation and almost an equivalent amount or percentage decline in water bodies. Now, why single out Bangalore? Let's see the findings of the third survey of India's city systems, that is ASICS, done by Janagraha to evaluate the fundamental ability of a city's institution to deliver a better quality of life over medium and long term. Now, the survey covered 21 cities across 18 states and declared that all 21 cities have very low scores when compared to the global benchmarks. That's London and New York. Indian cities continue to score in the range of 2 to 4.2 out of 10 as against London's 9.4 and New York's 9.7. So that's how low our cities score. The question I'm asking today is it rampant construction and real estate activity which has led to the city's mess, or is it the response of the centre and the state government who have really not managed to solve the problem? And I think that's the crux of this debate. Mr. TV Ramachandra, I'm going to come to you because we started or opened the Pandora's box with your findings. So tell me, I mean, who's at fault?
Well, this is because of the unplanned urbanization in the region. See, when you look at the kind of urbanization that has happened in the region, you mentioned about 584% growth. That is during 2010. Now, the current growth, when you look at the latest one as on 2016, the increase in concrete area is 1,005%.
Wow.
1,005%. We have lost 88% vegetation and 79% of water bodies. See, all of us require the houses, but at what cost? We do not have a clean air or water. And also there are no open spaces for our children to play or for the elders for the recreation. So by all this count, the city has become unlivable city. Now we need to do certain things. See, the government has to do the planning. We need to decongest the city now. That is on priority. Decongest and decontaminate the city. Air is contaminated, water is contaminated, land is contaminated.
All right, Mr. Ramachandra, now this is why we're doing this discussion. Mr. Irfan Razak, respond to this. He's saying, look, concretization has happened, is 1,000% plus. You've lost 80% green cover of Bengaluru, and which is actually for you, who's a hardcore Bangalorean, must also be a very heartbreaking thing to see. And we need to decongest and decontaminate, otherwise people will start, actually cities will become unlivable. Do you agree?
Anisha, this is the price you pay for urbanization. I do respect the professor's study, and I do respect that we need to look into the ecological and environment part of it. But at the same time, India has been growing, and the city also has been growing in the last 2 decades and growing pretty rapidly. Now, whatever growth that has come within the framework of law, within the zoning that has been prescribed, within the prescribed built-up rules in terms of FAR and all of it. And I disagree that the open spaces are not there for the children to play. And I think as urbanization has happened, because of the well-defined laws that we have to leave a percentage for open spaces and parks, and which all developers are leaving, which gives the spaces for the children to play. But having said that, yes, Bangalore has grown. Bangalore has become congested. And I don't see how you can decongest a city. It's not possible. I think what we need to do is we need to at least now see that the infrastructure gets in place as quickly as possible, like public transport. Now, the fortunate and the good part of it is we've got the Bangalore Metro, which finally the first phase is coming to see the light of day.
Rajiv Talwar, would you agree that you can't decongest a city? I mean, Gurgaon, now look at it. This was a city which was visualized by the promoter of your company. It was a vision of KP Singh. It's become the millennial city. And today, if I look at the statistics, it's deepening water crisis, traffic jams, drowning in its own waste. And CSE study says it all.
I think we've got to realize a few problems here. What to say of decongesting a city like Bangalore or a city like Gurgaon? The government, despite all its prophetic and promises for the last 30 to 40 years, has not been able to decongest Delhi. You've not been able to move out a single office from here. You've not been able to move out the secretariat probably from South Mumbai. You've made a new Mumbai there. So therefore, what Mr. Irfan Razak said very correctly, that urbanization is a part of every developing country. And it contributes roughly, cities across the world contribute to 60% of the global GDP. So to say that urbanization and trying to put somebody on the back foot or on the defensive by saying that cities are becoming unlivable would be a wrong approach to take. I think the more appropriate approach to take would be to say, how can we positively resolve people's problems? After all, people have a right to live in a city. People have a right to migrate within India. And if they have a right, then I think we also have the responsibility, either as the government or as the population or as developers, to see that infrastructure and their requirements are provided for.
Okay, all right. I get that point. Now, Mr. Sudhir Krishna, you've been part of the policy making think tank on urban development. Now, tell me, why is it really a real estate problem, construction problem, or is it really the response of the state and the center government which is responsible for this mess? Because like I would agree with Mr. Talwar, how can you actually stop cities from growing? Nowhere in the globe or world can you stop cities from growing.
I think urbanization is a natural phenomenon, and the sooner we accept it and the faster we promote planned urbanization, the better for all of us. We think that India has got too much of urban development, too many people in the cities. Actually, it is far from it. Our urban population is just about 31% of the total population, which includes what is called census towns. The towns which are actually village in legal terms, and they are in census they are called towns. So actually the population growth is not much in urban areas. It was 28% 10 years before, now it is 31%. So number one, that we are not urbanized enough, we must promote planned urbanization. Number two, you asked about the ills, what are the problems which were causes of this problem of unplanned urbanization. It is a governance issue, basically. I have got deep regard for all those like the architects, the developer, real estate developers. There are black sheep everywhere. I will not say that everybody is very good, but by and large, these are the entrepreneurs. They are the people who have a vision and they have got the drive. They want to create some creators, creators of something good. So the job of government is to regulate their creativity so that they do not, leave certain framework of law and then they help the people. Now, third thing I would say, the government itself has got a lot of potential to become a model developer by redeveloping its own estate. In government, we redeveloped the new Moti Bagh. Old Moti Bagh became new Moti Bagh. 10 times the floor area we developed, and is it not looking much more glorious than before?
And plus, it's completely eco-friendly project. There is zero waste in that project.
Absolutely.
I get that. Now, Anvita, I'm going to come to you. Between IISc and CSC, you're the watchdogs, and your role is really important because it keeps the public conversation on that we are losing sustainability of cities is very important. We know all the problems, and they'll be there in the supers. We'll flash the graphics of all the cities and the water crisis that we have. What is the solution? I mean, we keep saying the response of the government is not enough. Municipal bodies are not equipped to actually handle all of this. What is the solution? To me, it just seems that we keep discussing the problems.
So let's look at it this way. One, that if you really look at the new estimates from the World Bank, what it shows is that the built-up area outside the municipal or the official limit of the city today is actually more than the built-up area inside the city. That means a huge population growth that is taking place outside the city limit today. And that is a low density sprawl. And that has really raised a huge question about service delivery to the people, because what we today believe as a basic principles of urbanization, that you need to, when you're doing reurbanization, you're doing redevelopment inside the city, you need to maximize access of the people to that new development. The chaos that we see today inside the city is not because that it's actually because the planning is being done for the minority. Today in Delhi, for instance, you have a huge investment for smart city development in the NDMC area, but that investment is going to happen for just 2% of the people. Because what you've done here, instead of going for high density development inside the city, you're pushing your own people to the periphery. Now, as a result of that, there's a huge equity issue coming up today. If you look at the distribution of the resource, per capita water consumption in NDMC area is 4 to 5 times higher than at the periphery. So which means it is just not about the availability of the resource, but it is the equitable distribution of the resource. And more important, today in this city, 77% of the households have income of 60,000 rupees and much below. But the housing stock that you're going to create is much above their affordability. Okay. And as a result, so if we do not address these larger issues of resource distribution, bringing people close to the infrastructure that you're creating, and today particularly, as you know, that in Delhi, to fix this problem, when you come into solution, Delhi has actually announced the transit-oriented development plan, which is saying that you bring more people close to the transit line, do re-densification, allow more people to be there. But already there are pressure from the real estate industry to lax that. In fact, they're asking for exemption to provide green open spaces in small development areas. They're also saying that they want to make the requirement of dwelling unit per hectare density norm much weaker. Now, therefore, we cannot have those kind of pressure building up. So the solutions will have to be worked out. In fact, the policies are already focusing on solution. Question is, are we going to block this implementation or not?
Okay, I think we've gone in various directions because it's obviously a really, really large issue. I think I just want to come back to sustainability. And I think let me just get everybody's viewpoints. We all know the problems. Mr. Razak, let me start with you. What would you want to make Bangalore sustainable? Yes, open spaces are created. Yes, developers are working within the bylaws. No one's flouting any norms. But how? But there is a real big staring problem in terms of livability of Bangalore going down. How do you think it can be fixed?
Manisha, if we really start thinking now, like I told you, everybody needs a decent shelter over their head, whether it's the poor or the rich. And if we feel that certain areas are congested, the only way to do is to create counter magnets and create new cities. And I'm not saying create new cities far away from the city, but with proper, peripheral roads and getting out. But again, there'll be a big cry, a hue and cry that we are going and encroaching on agricultural land. But if you really look at it, certain pockets should be created where we do a completely brand new development, brand new city where there is water available, where there is natural resources available, and see that we sort of allow more growth happen there, and then have the core areas where it's already fully developed, and not allow those areas to cool off and not allow any more development there.
All right, fair enough. TV Ramachandra, you've got Bengaluru's largest developer actually talking your language and saying there's also always a possibility of actually creating newer cities around Bengaluru to decongest Bengaluru. But again, land will be swallowed there as well. I mean, your idea of decongesting is a phenomenally good one, but how is it going to be possible without taking up or sucking
if there
up
is
more
a will,
land?
it is. See, if there is a will, there is a way. For example, the Tanjavur, Kumbakonam and Tiruvallur, if you look at that, the people from the villages come to the city, they work and they go back. That means providing the improvisation of the infrastructure makes the people to come to the city, they work and they go back. Okay. That is what has to happen in the peripheral area. Then coming to the Bangalore, see, if you look at the architecture that has been currently deployed in Bangalore, you see that the people residing in the high-rise building with a glass facade, they consume about 14,000 to 17,000 units of electricity per year, per person, compared to the normal building where the people use about 700 to 1,400 units of electricity. See, 10 times higher electricity consumption means higher carbon footprint. Then the second thing is, when you look at the transportation sector, another infrastructure, see, the Bangalore and Hyderabad have a higher emission in the transportation sector to the extent of 43 to 52%. This mainly because of poor public transport. See, there are some improvement, but that improvement is not at the face of how the buildings are coming up. Okay. See, Mr. Razak talked about the shelter. See, I can have the shelter, but I should also have the clean air and water. And adequate water. If there is no adequate water, then there is a serious problem in the city.
All right, fair enough. I think most of us are converging on the same point, which is provide for the right connectivity, and you will anyway see, lesser congestion at the centers, and in cities like Delhi where the centers actually absorbing tremendous resources because they're the least populated and the sidelines are getting scrunched, even that has to be taken care of. Okay, let me get Mr. Sudhir Krishna's viewpoint here. Mr. Sudhir Krishna, give us solutions. I mean, what can you be what can you be doing?
Now, I think the most important thing after transportation is waste management.
Yes.
Both the solid waste as well as the sewage has to be not only managed, but managed in a profitable manner. The recycled sewage can provide a lot of water, which can reduce the water scarcity and shortage in the cities. Similarly, the garbage has to be managed in a profitable manner. Technology is available, but management is the issue. The whole problem is governance and management.
Rajiv Talwar, the accountability is the biggest issue. At a city level, who owns the city? And political votes are not earned from the city. They are earned actually outside of the cities. The basis of all big political parties, at least in Bengaluru, that's the biggest thing I hear, that or in Mumbai, the vote banks are not in Mumbai or in Bengaluru. They're in the rural areas of Maharashtra and rural Karnataka. So that kind of problems when you have, who owns the city?
No, the city is owned by the people. And that's a simple thing. And as Sudhir has very rightly said, that yes, there are systems available, allow people to work, allow enterprise to take place. I think whenever we compare, and I've seen it on this show also right now, we're comparing things to New York, to London, to Shanghai. Sorry, these are $10 trillion plus economies. We are talking of a 1.27 billion people being managed in a 2 trillion and I think or a $3 trillion economy. I think the Prime Minister's vision is very correct, that yes, at a smaller level, you have to take steps like Swachh Bharat, Skill India. You have to allow people to be more aware of what they need to do themselves. For instance, cleaning up the rivers. I think Anumita would agree that you cannot treat rivers as the drains of the last resort. There should be no mess flowing into them.
Anubita, my final question to you, and I would like, all the large developers do follow some of the best practices when it comes to sustainability in projects. However, how rampantly are they being followed, or I would say not being followed?
I think that's where we have the biggest problem today. So we are creating norms for green building. Even we are trying to construct green, but where we do not have any accountability is about to ensure they perform green after they are constructed.
Right.
So the rules are not even clear on them. So what we are really talking about is that so we now need performance target, just not for the building, but for the habitat as well. Solution will emerge also from the strength that the cities have. We have said just now that Mumbai is an impossible city, but still understand today that the public transport ridership in Mumbai is 89%. That is public transport, walking and cycling, which is the best in the world. Right. Even London, Singapore, they cannot even compete with that kind of ridership. So the point here is that if you do not understand your strength, you will not even invest there. So it's important, therefore, that you focus on that. You have to improve the quality of the transport. Today, we are talking about quality of life. It is not the built area, it is not the construction, it is not the concrete. So therefore, once we do that and we have those benchmarks in place, and then when it comes to water, to waste, we have to just simply change the paradigm. Don't think only about the rooftop harvesting of rainwater, but you have to absolutely increase the water holding capacity of the entire city. So which means your lakes, your water bodies, your rooftop, all will have to be integrated, and with the nala. Similarly with the waste, why should waste reach the landfill? If what we've just heard about New Moti Bagh, that has to really be the principle all across. So the moment you make that the basic of urban growth planning and accountability, only then we will begin to see the solution.
In fact, I've heard that in Bangalore, which is taking a lead, the citizen participation is so lovely in that city that you can't actually, it's become a rule that plastic will be nabbed, and you also have to do waste segregation at colony levels. I think that's the crux of it. It's now, we've all realized that governance may or may not come to our rescue. Literally, citizen governance has to be even more important. Gentlemen, I'm going to conclude. It's a very large topic. Yes, go ahead.
In fact, there is a video doing the rounds of something called Ahmedabad 311. And that is a citizen's line that you can photograph anything and send it by WhatsApp to 311, and as soon as it's rectified, because it goes into a central bank which is connected with the municipality, as soon as it's rectified, it sends a feedback to the person along with the photograph. I think to involve citizens in local governance, it's a prime example which can take place.
And you have to see the MCD commissioner of Ahmedabad. She's a lady. She's so dynamic, Rajiv Talwar. I've met her, that she's making all of this possible. I think a few more women in governance would help.
Certainly.
Gentlemen, let's conclude on that note.
Yes.
Irfan Razak, Professor Ramachandra, Anubita, and of course Ms. Sudhir Krishna, Rajiv Talwar. Gentlemen, thank you very much. I know that we don't find very, very big solutions, but the urban debate has to be part of the property show. It can't be outside of it. So we will call you back every 3 months and at least send out this message that something needs to be done right away. After the break, we'll come to another burning topic. How do buyers whose homes have not been delivered get justice? Because from what we hear, it's going to take at least 2 years for RERA, or real estate regulator, to become effective at state level. And that's a very, very long wait.